Welcome to Film Strip. These podcasts are spoiler filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504(c)(2), Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Ryan.
I'm Ron.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm Jay.
And we are here to talk about Little Shop of Horrors, starring Rick Moranis, Levi Stubbs, Ellen Green, Tashina Arnold, Michelle Weeks, Tisha Campbell, Vincent Gardenia, with Steve Martin, Jim Belushi, John Candy, Christopher Guest, and Bill Murray, based on the musical by Howard Ashman and the 1960 film by Roger Corman and Charles B. Griffith. This one was directed by Frank Oz, and it was released in 1986 with a $25 million budget. It grossed over $54 million at the box office, was well reviewed, nominated for 2 Oscars, and is considered a cult classic. In true Film Strip fashion, we'll go around and talk about everyone's experience with the movie and potentially even the musical. Ron, do you want to start us off?
Sure, I guess I can do that. The first time I remember this being a movie that I watched, I was 9 years old, and it came on the same night as my Taekwondo class. So I went to Taekwondo class, and then we rushed home so I could watch Little Shop of Horrors. And I don't know what it is that made me want to watch it so badly. I don't know if it was Rick Moranis, because by then I'd seen Ghostbusters, because this was on like just random network TV. Or like an independent station. I don't know if it was because of Ghostbusters. I don't know if it's because I saw like Audrey 2 in the actual promotional material. I'm like, well, I got to see what's going on with this giant plant. I don't know if it's because Steve Martin was in it, but yeah, for whatever reason, I remember really wanting to go home and see this as a child, and being slightly upset we missed like the first 10 minutes, but really enjoying it at least as a kid.
Awesome. Lindsay, what about you?
I think I was in college when I saw this first, and it was late college. I had taken, I don't know, an auditions class or something, and the grad student that was running it had recommended one of the songs from this movie as an audition song. And so I was like, okay. So I heard the song. I think it was Suddenly Seymour or something, and probably. And I watched it because of that. And I've seen it several times. I've seen the show live a handful of times as well, which is also so fun. I'm sure we'll get into that, a little farther down the line here, but that's it. I've seen it several times. It's not, I don't know, it's not really on my rewatch radar often, but it is it is nice. It was accessible for me on Tubi, which we all know and love. And so I think it's one of those movies that pop up on the free streaming channels a lot, so it's nice to be able to watch it pretty much whenever.
Awesome. What about you, Jay?
Oh, I've talked about it on the shows before, but my parents let me watch Grease way too young in life, and I didn't get it. So that was why I was allowed to watch it. But I really got into the musicals and stuff, and my parents both like musicals. And I was 9, 10 when this came out, so I'd seen Ghostbusters. I was a Muppet kid, that was my thing. And so they're like, "Hey, you probably like this," and we watched it on cable or one of those free Showtime HBO weekend things or something. And it's the only time I've ever seen it was once when I was a kid, and I've just seen pieces of it here and there. And it was years later that I realized this was like a Roger Corman, joint from the 60s, and I sought that out and watched it, and I have thoughts on that for sure. And then I knew it was a show and all that kind of stuff, but I've never seen it. I've heard people talk about seeing it and how different it is, all that kind of stuff. And it was one of those things from childhood that I saw, and I probably thought it was cool. I really didn't have any memories of it. Like, I more or less remembered the story because it's not that complicated. And but I there were lots of it I didn't recall immediately when I fired up the Tubi to watch it, like I said. And you know, I think the thing that really drew me to it was I've always liked Motown music anyway. And I'll jam on that. So Levi Stubbs and Four Tops kind of stuff, and the street urchins as the um Greek chorus doing doo wop in the background. I mean, it's just that's right up my alley anyway. I like that kind of stuff. And you got a big puppet thing doing weird stuff. So I mean that's my childhood with this for sure. So
Yeah, it is a giant puppet.
it's an
Um,
amazing puppet, as we'll get
yeah,
into.
It
But
is.
yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of
Um,
Muppets, Jay, as a Muppet child, did
mhm.
you know, number one, you don't have purple furry skin and a big orange nose, which is disappointing for a Muppet. You're one of those boring human looking ones.
I am one of those boring human ones.
But did you know one of the puppeteers of Audrey 2 was Brian Henson?
I did know that. Yeah, I had looked that up, and I knew Frank. I knew who Frank Oz's name was because I was a big Star Wars kid, and so I knew Yoda, and all of that kind of stuff. And so I was aware of that name, and also the different times he would show up as an actor and things and stuff. So,
Do you think he ever did the Yoda voice from the directing chair?
oh, I don't think so actually. I think that annoys him, from what I understand. That and he created it mostly to annoy George. Um, but
mission accomplished.
yeah, yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel like Frank Oz is one of those people like John Carpenter who's like super grumpy all the time.
He looks like he is, right? So like here's the funny thing about the Yoda thing, and this is just an aside, y'all, but if you've never seen Mark Hamill do his version of Frank Oz doing Yoda while they were shooting Empire Strikes Back, it's one of the funniest things you'll ever hear. I mean, he said, I'm just on this set for months. Everybody else is off having adventures. I'm in this man-made swamp, with lizards, and there's this green frog talking to me in this weird philosophical gibberish.
He's
You know?
literally Shrek, but
But he,
tiny size.
but he does the little voice, and it's just funny to hear him do Frank Oz doing Yoda, and stuff. But yeah, I feel like Frank Oz is like perpetually grumpy. Like if you've ever seen Trading Places, he's the cop that's dressing down Dan Aykroyd when they bust him in the
Hmm.
beginning. One of his many roles of being the grumpy person in the front of the room. See, he's also the grumpy FBI instructor or whatever at the Spies Like Us at the test that Chevy Chase is
Hmm.
cheating on.
And
Oh
famously
my God.
the guy who runs the gives them their stuff back from the jail when they check out of the jail.
Yeah, yeah,
What
exactly.
he's the one prophylactic used
Yes. Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, he's that
Yeah.
guy. He's that. It's La Boheme. It's an opera. He's that guy. So, but yeah, but now the thing about this that I didn't remember at all. I remembered Rick Moranis, right? I didn't remember that he actually sang songs,
Hmm.
and I didn't know that like they were going to give him that. Steve Martin doing an Elvis Dennis impression is something I can get on board with because Steve Martin is a musician,
Yeah.
and everybody else that sings in this movie I buy. Rick Moranis was someone I did not know like could sing, and I
Hmm.
use that in the terms of what we're talking about here, or ever would. He just doesn't strike me as that kind of energy.
It's hard to.
He's done a couple of country albums that are actually pretty good.
Hmm. And
He's very Canadian sounding.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Canadian
and
country
his
album.
and his country songs are very if you've ever listened to Canadian country, which I have because I had Sirius XM for
Yep.
decades, if you ever listen to the Canadian country station, he would fit right in with that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. There's a group called the Prairie States. They're kind of newish. They're from Canada, but they sound like 90s pop country, by the way. They're awesome, but you
Mm.
can't not hear the Canadian accent in the singer. Like the first time I heard it, I was like, this dude's got some weird inflections. And then I looked him up and they're like, from Canada. I was like, explains it all. So,
Now, Jay, you mentioned that Steve Martin is a musician. Have you
Mhm.
seen him live?
I have not seen him live. I've just seen all of his, many years of performances on on television and seen him just randomly pick up banjos and just like he's Earl Scruggs all of a sudden. So
Hmm.
He's amazing. I saw he did a show with he did a tour with Edie Brickell as his
hmm
opening act, and that was a great double bill. And
I
that was a fabulous concert. He's incredible.
I now have that Edie Brickell and New Bohemian song in my ears, by the way. It just came right back to me. So
Well, you're welcome.
yes, thank you for that earworm. So
Gonna be humming it throughout the entire.
And they
I will
did that
spare
like a
everyone's ears and not hum it. How about
they did
that?
like a bluegrassy version of that song. Her and him and the Steep Canyon Rangers. It was incredible.
I could actually hear that. That would work. It would translate to that. It's not like it's not like you're taking, Master of Puppets and trying to break it down on five strings. So
Oh, Master of Puppets is even better as a bluegrass song.
I've heard AC/DC is bluegrass, so I can buy that Metallica would
Same.
work as bluegrass. But anyway, so I
Any kind of
digress.
any kind of heavy metal, the chord progressions are basically bluegrass. Just run through a distortion pedal
They're
or five.
they're both rooted in classical music, but don't get me started on that. That soapbox.
And they both emphasize speed. So
Mm.
it's a perfect match. Anyway, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Ryan.
Oh, you're totally fine. Um,
So, Ryan,
no,
was this the first time you've ever seen the movie?
no. Thank you for always
Yeah.
pointing that out. No, I was introduced to this movie pretty young. It came out 2 years before I was born, but I want to say that I was at least in like my preteens when this movie was introduced to me. I didn't even know this was a musical, but given that my parents introduced me to this film, I shouldn't have been surprised. But I knew I had watched Ghostbusters. I know who Steve Martin and Bill Murray were. So, it was kind of nice to see faces that I recognized. Um, and I just was a little scared of it a little bit. But I mean, this is a movie that has kind of been a go-to. If I get the chance to watch it, I will. And I didn't even see the musical until I was probably in college. And ironically, my theater just recently did Little Shop of Horrors. So when we were discussing doing a movie about something green, this was the first one that came to mind. Um, but back to your comment, Jay, about Rick Moranis singing. As somebody who has like now seen the movie and has seen the musical renditions, usually Seymour is not like he's not the way that they wrote him. He is not a belter. He's not a projector. A lot of his stuff is more spoken. So I think that you can definitely tell there are certain parts that he where he did have to kind of like project it was shown. But I also think that because of the way that Seymour is kind of written to be, I think somebody like Rick Moranis works really well. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they looked at Rick Moranis and went, "Yeah, you look like, the nerdy plant lover. That we'll work around you."
Uh,
The
the
big
vocal
singers,
Skid Row.
the vocal part
yeah.
of it, and you saying that though reminds me of the when they did the Buffy musical episode, and you
Oh my
can
God.
tell which of those actors actually were singers and had
Hmm.
sang. Like James Marshall's just a rock and roll guy, so he's got this
Hmm.
killer voice, and Anthony Stewart Head's got this big, John Tesh meets I don't know Richard Marx thing going on, and
Hmm.
Sarah Michelle can get by singing. Michelle Trachtenberg was a theater kid and
Hmm.
sang, and all of it. But Nicholas Brendan, the guy that played Xander, was not a singer and was
No.
not a dancer, and he worked his butt off to get to that point. But you could tell they gave him songs like you're talking about here that are more like spoken with a little bit of tune
Hmm.
behind it, and I can appreciate that. I mean, it takes a lot to be able to do something like that, you know.
True story. Every so often I think about the Buffy the Vampire Slayer musical episode, and all I can think of is bunnies,
Well, I
bunnies.
that and the random guy that's picking up his dry cleaning, just
Yeah.
who I think was one of the script writers or whatever. That was just like they got the stain out or whatever it is. It's just funny, but
Ugh,
yeah,
oh my God. No, but I mean, in retrospect, like the big singers are Ronette, Crystal, and Chiffon,
yeah.
Mhm.
Audrey, and of course Audrey too.
I mean,
And
yeah. I mean, you when you have one of the four tops, I mean, you're
yeah.
gonna get a a whole thing. And uh, again, being the guy who loved Motown and doo wop and all that,
Hmm.
I'm just like, I'm just eating all that up. And I could see why my folks were like, yeah, he could probably deal with this. And again, I didn't pay attention to any of the lyrics because if I had, I would probably have been horrified,
I love
like I would have
how
been with Grease. But,
I really love how two of the three of our homage Greek chorus, two of the three go on to be uh, two of the four stars of Martin,
right,
Yeah,
right,
Hmm.
yeah.
which is
yeah.
crazy.
That is a wild, like, just aside. So yeah.
Oh my God.
I also feel like this set is, and Ron, maybe you can verify. I don't know if this is true or not. I felt like a lot of this set, which I know is supposed to be New York, but I felt like they borrowed some of whatever Walter Hill wasted money on to make Streets of Fire to recreate Chicago instead of just shooting in Chicago. He built a set of Chicago. It looks very similar. So
Hmm.
there's lots of alleys
Well,
that are repurposed.
they did shoot this. They did famously shoot this at the James Bond soundstage in
Oh,
England.
Pinewood. Oh, nice.
Yep,
Okay.
and on the 007 stage itself. So yeah, this
Hmm.
is a lot of repurposed sets from other things that had shot in England.
I can see
And,
it.
which is why, you know how there's that brief scene of the doo-wop guys that Rick Moranis walks past?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One of those guys is Cat from Red Dwarf. Did anybody else watch
No.
Never seen it.
Red
Yeah.
Dwarf? I judged by your response, you did watch Red Dwarf, Jay. But yes,
Yeah.
that's the Cat. He's one of the
Yeah.
guys.
I did not know that. Oh wow. That is wild.
And now
Yeah.
that you know that, go back and watch it. You'll see who he is immediately because he's got the cat's face. It's
Yeah,
but like
that'll
10 years
stick out.
younger than Red Dwarf. It's wild.
That's funny. So
Hmm.
yeah. But where are all of y'all just in general on the idea of like musical adaptations as movies and stuff? I have my thoughts about them, but what do y'all think? How these tend to work? I mean, this is Hollywood's been in love with this forever, so they still are.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes they work really well, and it's cool to see a production that was originally meant for stage in a film where they can put more budget behind it. And if someone messes up, they can refilm it and do 80 takes if they need to or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, that's a like, I- so yeah, in general, I would say I'm good with it. Plus, it makes musicals more accessible to like the general public who aren't going to see Broadway shows or like professional theater that often because it's expensive, but it's unless you're going to like a community show. But I I like it. I think it can be done really poorly too. It just
West
kind
Side
of
Story.
depends on
Hmm.
on the team involved with the
Mhm.
adaptation. It's just like a book adaptation. Sometimes they're great and sometimes they're not. And you know,
Hmm.
I I didn't realize this was that the stage version was adapted from something else that had already existed. And I'm kind of calling on Ron here because you're the Corman head amongst us here. Like I didn't know this was like one of Roger's things that then got because I know David Geffen's the tying point. He produced the Broadway stage or the off-Broadway show, which I got a question about in a second. And then was also a producer of this film, so he wanted it to be. But like I didn't realize this was, all had its roots in good old Raj.
Yeah, and it's one of the better Corman projects of the time. I mean, it's super no budget, but you've got a
It's cute.
an aggressively young Jack Nicholson
Mhm.
playing roughly the analog to the Bill Murray role that we see later, as the kind of weird masochist guy.
Yep.
Um, and the late great legendary been in everything great and everything Dick Miller plays the Seymour Krelborn point.
Hmm.
But instead of it being like plants, he is a uh, is it plants or is it no, I'm getting confused with Bucket of Blood in my head, but yeah, it's one of the better because Roger Corman about the same time period he did this, Little Shop of Horrors, and he did Bucket of Blood, and they're all great. both great movies, both great Dick Miller performances. So if you've not seen the original, it's definitely worth seeking out.
Yeah, I was going to ask if anybody else went. So I went and found it. It's on YouTube for free, and I watched it. It's only like an hour. It's funny.
I did not.
I did not. uh but I mean, and I probably should. To be perfectly honest, until I started doing research into this, I didn't know that this was based off of a pre-existing movie. I thought this was like a standalone. Um, but I think that to your question, Jay, like musical adaptations, I'm kind of there with Lindsay. Like it can go really well and it can go really badly. Um, but what I like about this film was it was on Broadway, it was popular at the time, so it did make sense. It had a good cast. What I think was also a benefit is that this is also the same on Broadway. This does not really like the set doesn't really move that much. There's like
Mhm.
two locations between Skid Row and the dentist office, which I think really worked because then they could put the budget forward to working on the puppetry and some of the special effects that were going on, and costumes and everything. And so I think that like this as a Broadway musical that moved to a movie was a good choice. You take, of course, like a lot more risks when you do movies that have a bigger set. Like, Wicked has been 50-50, but mostly well received. You have Les Miserables that was mostly well received. You have West Side Story, which I'm not going to finish that sentence.
It's 50
Uh,
fit, right? Like a lot of people really liked it. And if
and
you do, if that's what brings you joy, more power to you.
no, I'm
But
just not
Lindsay
on
and I are
that list.
not in
I
that
know
50.
I'm also not on that list of people who like that movie.
I would never judge someone for liking something. I like
No,
trash like
Mm.
movies, and that a lot of people don't. So yeah, that's
no,
I don't judge. I just did not like it.
Well,
no,
I don't.
I don't either. Just be prepared for me to voice my reasons why I didn't like it. That's
well,
all I'm saying. I'm gonna come with notes and I'm gonna come with website links. I'm just throwing this out there for you.
well, Lindsay and Ryan, though, I have a question for y'all. For those that maybe don't know it but have heard the phrase, what's off Broadway versus Broadway? Like, what's the
It,
easy way
it,
to get the difference?
sure, Broadway's like the major leagues, and
Mhm.
off Broadway is like the minor leagues. Like
Oh,
like
okay.
it's
Yeah,
still professional, but it's not like the
yeah.
big professional.
Yeah, the other way that you can possibly look at it is yes, there's like the big leagues and then there's like the minor leagues. Another way you could also describe it is as somebody who helped with an off-Broadway show. Um, when you look at if you've ever been to New York City, of course, when you think Broadway, you think one major grid, but it
Mhm.
continues further and further out. And some people deem that it's off Broadway depending upon how far out it is from the main grid. So that's another perspective that you can, you know, take into consideration. But I think
Mhm.
Lindsay kind of put it the best way, I think, for most people to understand it.
It also depends on like the theater's size, which is why
Mhm.
off Broadway is kind of like it's just the smaller in general. So it's usually reserved for like
Comedy
newer
shows.
or upcoming shows. Yeah, things like
Yeah.
that. There's also off Broadway
Yes.
is a category as well.
Which is like little leagues.
It's like
We'll put
single
it
A
like
it's
baseball,
like
where it's
it's like
yeah, yeah. If
it's
we're gonna
more
continue
like
with the baseball terminology,
I
the
wouldn't call
challenge
it
is how many 999s there are in the stadium, not
I
how
oh
wouldn't
many
my
call
God.
strikes
it
and
I wouldn't call it little league, but it's
So
like a local team.
so after you go off Broadway, what's next? Is it like Gowanus Canal, on Gowanus Canal, and off
you're
Gowanus
doing
Canal?
whatever the bass player from Eddie and the Cruisers was doing when
Oh
they
my
caught up with him in the
God.
80s. You're doing like the lounge review at that point, I think. So
You're tap dancing with in Cyprus with
there you go.
disgraced
You're sharing this, you're
pedophiles.
sharing, oh my God. I was gonna say you're You're tap dancing while somebody's doing a comedy stand up on the
Yeah.
same stage at the
You're
same
doing
time.
a one man Death of a Salesman at the Ramada.
Now,
So
Oh God. Please.
now, Jay, do you think this? Now, I'm just going to put my cards on the table here. I think this is a really good adaptation of the original picture
mhm.
because the original picture is so funny. Do you
Yeah.
think that it's easier to turn a comedy thing into a musical than a serious thing?
Uh
Because the songs don't have to be like
oh man.
heart-wrenching and they can kind of be goofy and silly.
I don't know. That's a good question. I hadn't thought about it like that. And to describe that first movie, y'all, like if you watch it and you watch the lead actor in it, you squint and you see Jerry Lewis happening with that because it's very much that energy.
And
Um,
and Charles Griffiths, who wrote the original movie, also
yeah.
did A Bucket of Blood, which is one of the reasons why I get them confused so much.
Okay.
He's very much a comedy guy, and
Hmm.
he's the guy that Roger Corman brought in to do work on Death Race 2000 when it was because he wanted it to be serious, but all the
Right.
cars have like foam rubber teeth and crazy googly eyes on them and stuff. And Paul Bartel's like, no, I want it to be a comedy, so he calls in
Jo-
Griffith to make it funny.
yeah. Yeah. Jonathan Hayes is the actor I was trying to think of a minute ago from he's doing like the Jerry Lewis thing. I don't know, man. Like I could see that it would be easier to adapt a comedy because you've got I don't know, you're playing with more fun necessarily, but I've seen good dramas that had great music to them, you know, like
Yeah, well, like just in general, I mean, the way musicals work is absolutely absurd because nobody breaks into song in real life, so it's hard to do that seriously, I
it's
feel like.
true. Yeah.
And a meaning, I mean, like in a way that, you know,
Is earnest and
seems, yeah,
yeah.
seems earnest.
I mean, it goes kind of by horror movie logic sometimes,
Hmm.
musicals. You're like, seems okay. Yeah, makes sense for this sort of thing. All right, they're gonna burst out singing about, you know,
Mm.
doing horrible things to cats and puppies. Okay,
I
if that's
mean,
what you do on your motorcycle, no judgments.
I
So
mean, you
so
think
are
about like
would that make the
Chicago.
songs that
Chicago's a murder mystery, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Sure, a
ridiculous
mystery.
the way
Yeah.
that they do it, right? So it's a send up of all of that jazz era stuff. A chorus line
so
is a fucking musical about trying out to be in a
Yeah,
musical.
Yeah.
it's
Like
literally anxiety on stage for
yes,
stage. It is very
yeah.
meta.
Yeah.
It's super meta. That's a good way of saying it.
The
Yeah.
amount of times when I was auditioning, especially in New York, the amount of times I could hear that, God, I hope I get it.
I hate
Hope I
Yeah,
get it. And
y'all,
they just, and I'm like, how many people does he need?
before I ever saw a chorus line, I saw Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, so much. And the opening of that is like this hella montage to Frank Stallone music and dancing and stuff. I thought that's how it always was that
I mean,
sweaty and
it is.
anxiety ridden. And
I mean,
I'm told it is. So,
you're thinking staying alive when you're running from audition to audition. You're like, oh my God, I'm living literally on coffee and like a croissant. I'm staying alive. We're moving this along.
living on cigarettes and dreams. So
Diet Coke, cigarettes and Diet Coke.
Yeah, cigarettes,
now do
Diet
you
Coke.
now you mentioned I think it was Ryan who mentioned that musicals are a lot like horror movies in terms of like you got
yeah.
to suspend your disbelief
Yeah.
immediately when crazy things start happening. Do you think that the songs in a musical are the equivalent of the kill scenes in a horror movie?
Uh,
In this
Because
instance, yes.
if you go like by pacing wise, it's like okay, I'm starting to get bored. When's there going to be a song? Okay, I'm starting to get bored. When's somebody going to get stabbed? It's about the same time period when you lead up to the big ending where you've got your big climactic song and your
Hmm.
big,
Yeah.
final battle.
And I like this comparison because the kill scenes in a similar way to the songs in a musical are meant to push the plot forward.
Hmm.
Now, does
What
every scene do that? No. Does every kill scene do that? No. But as a general rule of thumb, I think that's what they're kind of there to do.
I I think that if it's a good musical, like it shows progression, because there's a musical in my brain that I'm thinking of right now, I Twitch, that, everyone it kind of alluded to this idea that and maybe Lindsay will figure out which one I'm talking about, kind of alluded to the idea that the musical was over, and it didn't. It actually turned out it was intermission. And then you go, oh no, there's more. Great. I'm so excited.
You bring up a good point, Ryan, and this is one of my like critiques of musicals is that I
Hmm.
feel like many of them build to that act one end, that big
Hmm.
crescendo, and then there's just this, and it's naturally going to be anyway, but there's just a drop off in the second half. It's
Hmm.
like the B side of the record, in
Yeah.
the old days, like, well, there's
Oh,
maybe one song buried in there somewhere, but this is the band screwing around.
yeah.
And
I mean,
I mean,
oh, I'm
not
sorry. Go
not
ahead.
all of them are that way. Like the
Hmm.
second half of Grease has some great songs in it, and
Yeah.
there's some good ones in the second act of Dear Evan Hansen, the musical, not the
Yeah.
movie.
Mhm.
Let's not talk about that.
Mm-mm.
But and there's some good songs in the second part of Wicked, but it's a different energy after Defying Gravity. You
Yep.
know, and I'll put my cards on the table here. That was the one thing that impressed me about coming back to this movie was that I never felt like it lost anything. In fact,
Hmm.
I would argue the biggest
Yeah.
song might be the very last one. So the mean green
Yeah.
mother from outer
Mhm.
space might be
Which,
the thing. So
yeah, which is interesting because I know we have to talk about the plot, of course, but we also need to. I also do want to address that for those who aren't familiar, and I learned this later, the movie has differences in comparison to the musical. And
right.
of course, there is sometimes that question of did it work for this, or was it that, test audiences didn't agree with it, which in this particular case it didn't. But and I mean we can go over it later, do these work. Because it does, one of them in particular kind of like portrays one character as being bad, and then another one kind of it especially with the ending, it gives something completely different to
Hmm.
to this in itself.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
but
it's
yeah.
it's worth mentioning that the song that was nominated, this got nominated for best original song and best effects, visual
Hmm.
effects, and it lost to "Take My Breath Away" from Top Gun, the song that wrecked Berlin's career. We'll talk about that in a sec, and "Aliens." Now, one of those I can agree with. Eh,
Which one was it, Jay?
hmm, take a guess. I
Top Gun. I'm
I
kidding.
think it's interesting that well, the note about this is that it's the first time a song that had out and out profanity in it got nominated for an Oscar. Because this
Hmm.
is I mean, you think the Grease movie songs are a little risque, and stuff. The musical one's much deeper, right? This was he's just
Mhm.
straight out like it's kind of street in some ways, and I'm not knocking it for that. I just think it's bold to have done something one that wasn't in the stage, and
Hmm.
then to do it at a big like climactic moment, and it got nominated for it. So it was a risk, swing for the fence for sure.
I mean, it describes Audrey too as a whole.
True.
I don't
Mhm.
care. It's not my problem. I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Mhm.
So, um, and I think Mean Green, I mean, well, I think Mean Green Mother is a prime example of that, which Audrey has been saying throughout this entire film and musical. Although, granted, spoiler alert, that song is not a part of the original musical.
Right.
So, which I know
Should have
for
been.
some people, it's usually now used as the bowing song.
Mhm.
Um, but I will say that and maybe I'm a little bit tainted because I watched the movie before I watched the musical. I think that song is way more fun than Don't Feed the Plants. But
I'm fine with things being different from medium to medium. It's like Eddie Murphy used to say, if you go watch his stand up and expect that Saturday Night Live Gumby shit, you're an idiot.
hmm.
That's not what he's gonna do. And so
Hmm.
I'm fine with like I think it's fun that there are different things from piece to piece. It's just strange that it's usually not something that's at a pivotal plot point. It's usually like, oh, we have this actor, we have Lindsay casting. Let's give her a fun song for a minute here. We just,
Damn
you know,
right
we
you do.
we go with it, right? Yeah, of course. So that's the idea of it. We've danced around it a lot though, Ryan. So why don't you tell us what the plot of this movie actually is?
Our story begins in the seemingly most innocent and unlikely of places. Movie text creeps up the screen and an unknown voice advises us on the future horrors that awaits those who watch. And if that doesn't give you enough of a warning, it is immediately met with a musical number sung by our fourth wall breakers, Ronette, Crystal, and Chiffon. The song is upbeat and catchy, but like most Disney villain songs you grew up with, once you pay attention to the lyrics, you quickly learn that they are warning you to beware in three-part harmony. We then are introduced to a small part of a town called Skid Row. In the center of it all is Mr. Mushnick's flower shop. Alongside our shop owner is Seymour Krelborn, a shy and painfully oblivious young man who appears to be the only one who actually likes plants. We also have Audrey, an incredibly optimistic woman with rather questionable taste in men, given that nearly every time you see her in the first half of this film, she has a new bruise or injury. Now, I know this may sound shocking for a place called Skid Row, but the song we are given shortly after their introduction informs us this place is far from idyllic and the shop is failing. Mr. Mushnick decides today of all days he wants to close up shop for good. Audrey, however, has an idea to put Seymour's new, strange, and interesting plant in the window to attract customers. Now, what type of plant is this, you might ask? Well, no one seems to know. By all appearances, it's a tiny little cabbage headed Venus flytrap, and it just showed up completely out of nowhere during a total eclipse of the sun. Or, as most horror fans would call it, a totally natural sequence of events. It is given the name Audrey too. In case you couldn't tell at this point, Seymour has a huge crush on its namesake and names it after her. While Mushnick is not initially sold on it, the large purchase that is made almost immediately upon viewing the plant makes him change his mind. The only problem? Audrey too appears to be a rather picky eater, as it remains wilted and sad despite Seymour's constant love and attention. Like a jilted lover who just can't take the hint, Seymour serenades it, begging it to grow for him. And due to what can only be described as musical shenanigans, Seymour learns Audrey too has a taste for human blood. So, what does he do upon learning this? Well, what every responsible plant owner would do: give in and give it what it wants. Now, for a time, this seems to work as Krellborn's efforts are successful. However, it is clear that he is having a hard time keeping his ever growing, ever fussy plant happy, as his fingers are covered in bandages due to him feeding it its own blood for goodness knows how long. Still, Seymour is content, for as Audrey True grows, it brings in business, along with the attention not just from Mr. Mushnick, but Audrey as well. Just not enough to make her bag her sadistic boyfriend, or in Scrivello, DDS. That's right, her boyfriend is the local dentist, which leads us to a song, while incredibly catchy, could be used as both a psych ward evaluation and submission. After an incredibly uncomfortable pickup for a date that would have made it to hashtag relationship advice on Reddit by now, Seymour is left alone with his once again dramatic plant that apparently can now talk and is extremely vocal that it is starving. Seymour attempts to offer alternatives as he has no more blood to give, and Audrey too counters with a more nose to tail option. For 1.5 verses of a song, Seymour is confident that this is wrong and says no. But when the offer to get rid of a certain sadistic middle-aged Danny Zuko is brought to the table, how can he refuse? Thankfully, Oren makes it easy for him because the dentist gatekeeps his BDSM rules and regulations, although his previous patient got the memo, and drops dead due to ODing on his one true love, laughing gas. All that's left is for Seymour to serve up. Now, you think it would end there. Seymour and Audrey discover their love for one another, the business thrives, and the villain Oren becomes Audrey 2's packed lunch. Sadly, though, Seymour is far from a true crime aficionado and doesn't clean up after his toddler's post-meal mess and gets caught by Mr. Mushnick. The most natural solution? Audrey 2 hasn't had supper yet, and swiftly makes work of Seymour's dad. Quotations around that. Oh, but the guilt is now eating away at our young plant lover, and he decides Audrey and him need to leave. But not before making sure to piss off the ginormous plant that has literally eaten 2 people in the process, because for some reason he thought there would be 0 consequences to those actions. Audrey, too, though, with minimal effort, convinces Audrey to come over for dessert. It is at this point that Seymour has had enough. Apparently, he draws the line at his plant trying to eat his girlfriend and doesn't quite approve that it has plans for world domination, which no one would have guessed it was its plan all along. Despite Seymour being a constant player level 1 mode throughout this movie, after an awesome song from the mean green mother herself, he electrocutes Audrey 2 into oblivion. The lovers immediately reunite, leaving the destroyed remains of the flower shop for their little house with an astroturf lawn and a little tiny cabbage-headed Venus flytrap grinning evilly at the camera before the credits roll.
By the way, how could Danny Zuko get more middle-aged than he already was?
Damn. Can I just say really quickly on that? I grew up with Steve Martin already having the white hair. And
Right.
until I saw Father
Yeah.
of the Bride 2, this threw me completely
my,
off guard.
my Blue
I was-
Heaven, where they give
Yeah.
him the
Yes.
faux hawk. So,
Because like my parents had introduced me to Roxanne before this film, also
Right.
being a Shakespeare fan. So I just went, what was this like done like several years ago? Because my tiny little preteen brain couldn't figure out that he had just, been white haired this whole time and they gave him a wig.
yeah, I wouldn't know what Steve Martin looked like with colored hair if it wasn't
It's
fake.
it's weird. It's weird.
Mm-mm.
Diane Keaton put it perfectly in Father of the Bride too.
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
So,
It's like whenever you watch like his first appearances on SNL, and he's got kind of salt. There's a little bit of salt and pepper in there.
yeah, a little
Mhm.
bit of
Before it
pepper
goes-
left. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of pepper in the salt. It's strange.
Yeah.
He somehow looks older, salt and pepper
Yes.
hair at like 28 than he does with
He-
solid white hair at 50.
He
That's
looks
the
older in
perfect
The
way.
Jerk than he does in Father of the Bride.
It's true.
I think some
That's
people
weird.
just pull off having white
So,
or
yeah.
Mhm.
like that silver blonde hair.
A distinguished
He's one of
look.
them.
It just works, Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
No, you're right.
there's
He
him.
does
There's
look
Tim
older.
Thomerson. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim.
Mhm.
Yeah, Tim Thomerson. Oh, how can we forget Barnett Cale or Doug's dad and Iron Eagle and many other things.
Doug's
So,
dad.
Colonel Masters. It would come to
Can
me.
we
I knew it
please
was.
do transfers, Jay?
So, yes, of course. How can we not? Well,
Put it on the list.
he's not the star of Trancers, but I would say. But
No, he's the star of transfers. He's Jack
Oh.
Death.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe another day on Donahue we can get into that.
We're 100% doing transfers for our Christmas extravaganza because I demand it, and it is a Christmas movie.
I think you just reinvited Tis the Podcast back on the show now.
Ron's thinking so far
Excellent.
ahead. I'm just thinking like the next 2 months, and he's like, "So Christmas, let's do a bit." And I love that.
Well,
I
we'll
really
we'll
do.
get Anthony on. We'll get Anthony on. We'll tell him we're going to watch transfers, and then we'll surprise him. It'll be Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yes.
I will finally pay it off.
Oh my gosh.
Like 3
Yes.
years later, yeah.
That may be the best prank ever pulled, by the way. But
It was a great prank.
that's an incredible prank. So, but
But
speaking
it's
of pranks,
weird. It's
Yeah.
to me to see black-haired Steve Martin as it is to see Rick Moranis being a dick in Streets of Fire. Speaking of Streets of Fire.
yeah. I always remembered that about Streets of Fire. He's the jerky record producer. Well, he's Joey Pants from Eddie and the Cruisers. He's that guy,
Pretty much 100%. He's Joey
Yeah.
Pants from in the Cruiser.
or he's just Joey Pants in any role.
I don't know if I've ever seen Streets of Fire.
Oh,
I
Lindsay, you
haven't.
need to get
Have
some of
I
that in your
ever
life,
seen
and
it?
then
I
go
mean,
listen to our episode.
I have a
Yeah.
movie recommendation spreadsheet that I keep every time we do a podcast.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
one
same.
doesn't show up on streaming all that often, but every now and then it'll pop up on Pluto or Tubi or something, and
Our
it's
beloved Tubi.
it's worth it. The soundtrack just, well, there's songs on that soundtrack that are in every long run playlist for me, and you'll know them when you hear them. But the soundtrack to that is amazing. And then Michael Pere with the Henry rifle and the whole nine, and Willem Dafoe looking even more Goblin-esque than he normally
Ooh,
does. So
I do like a
He looks
Gone
like a
Willem
snake man.
Dafoe.
he is a snake. Yeah, he looks like, you know that meme of the like the vine snake that like is constantly judging you. That's what he looks like
Yes.
in this movie. His hair's done like that. It's nuts. So, but Rick Moranis is
And
a total like dick record producer in that movie. So
Is he?
and
That's so
yeah,
funny.
he's
he's the
Diane Lane's
manager.
record producer.
Oh my
Her name
God.
is Ellen Aim and the
Helen
Attack,
Aim,
Jay.
yeah, and the Attack, yes.
But yeah, and he's also got one of those like 1940s
Yeah,
hairstyles where it's kind of
like
swooped up and
the
parted in the middle.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
there's several songs there like I Can Dream About You is the hit from The Thing that you would think is sung by the African American doo-wop group, but it's just some white British guy actually. But the two anchor songs are Jim Steinman songs. So if you guys like Meatloaf and that whole theatrical Total Eclipse of the Heart kind of shit, like the rocking
My
versions of
favorite
those
album.
anchor this movie.
All right, I'm gonna
And
have to watch it. That's my
yeah.
favorite album of Meatloaf.
And
So,
Okay
Diane Lane
then
was Diane Lane was so mad she didn't get to sing those songs. She
yes,
still talks
yes.
about it.
She's still mad about it. But the person who did sing them sang the hell out of them. So I could see why they went with the
Yeah.
track. But
Willem Dafoe's Big Lieutenant in Streets of Fire is Lee Ving,
that's right.
Mr. Body from Clue.
Yes, yes. Mr. Body, who was a
comes
punk
full
rocker
circle.
himself. Yeah.
Yep. And
So
he's
Full
not dubbed
circle.
in this movie, so his one
I
line or
was
two lines are his
a
own voice.
real.
I was gonna say this is the movie that breaks that tradition recently where we're like, this person was dubbed. So we should do Phantom of the Opera and talk about Minnie Driver.
I
Um,
mean,
Speaking of movies that musicals, I think that were bad film
hey.
adaptation. Why?
Yeah, speaking of, so I'll say this though about like the thing to me, like the outstanding part of this are our three street chorus, whatever we want to call them.
Yeah,
The
Ronnet, Crystal, and Chiffon.
I loved them. And I thought they completely nailed the vibe of that when they
Hmm.
were in costume, and then the couple of times when they were just being like normal. Like
Right.
that was that part of that
hmm
you were talking about, Lindsay, like where musicals make you shift from reality to like the ultra reality of whatever's happening. It's
Hmm.
like when they're in costume, they're doing their goofy ultra reality, but then they're normally just like walking around in their like, flower sack dress.
I
Or whatever.
mean,
I liked it. I thought they were
yeah.
funny.
No, I mean they do actually like move a lot of the story along. Like they're kind of in a sense narrators without actually meaning to, because I mean like they open up the show with the first song. They start off Skid Row. They lead to the supper time song, which is I think that they did that so beautifully to kind of and like to kind of like go underneath like that is like a good example like when we were talking about like horror movies versus musicals, like literally they're just behind them singing come on supper time, and it's that is of course the scene that is one of the that is different from the musical. And I don't know what it is. I think that for those who aren't familiar with the musical, um, Mr. Mushnick adopts Seymour in the musical to keep the money for whatever proceeds are coming from Audrey too. Like that, there's a song that's cut out of the movie. And in the movie version, in the musical version, that scene, supper time, um, the police have approached Mr. Mushnick because they found like I think it's a it's a bag. It's a paper bag with Mushnick's name on it. And Mr. Mushnick is like, "Okay, I'm beginning to wonder if Seymour has done something he shouldn't have and we need to go talk to the police." And Seymour decides he's going to get rid of Mr. Mushnick to
Mhm.
kind of cover his tracks. Whereas in the movie version, it's like you're going to go down to the police station or you give me all the money
Mhm.
and we never talk about this ever again. And I think Supper Time plays, in my opinion, and I want to hear everyone's opinion on this. I think that that song plays better because it's kind of egging Seymour to be like, okay, maybe I can just get rid of him and that'll be it. Audrey 2 will
Yeah.
never eat another person again.
So I was going to ask y'all because I'm not familiar with the musical, having never seen it. I just know that it exists, but I've seen that Roger Corman movie, and in that movie, Seymour out and out kills people. Like he feels bad about it, but
Hmm.
he straight up murks people. And I wonder if they made the decision in adapting this that like our protagonist cannot actually be a murderer. Like he's got to accidentally kill people,
Mm,
or they just die
Hmm.
in front of him, and he's disposing of the bodies in a terrible way, but he's not an out and out killer because
Hmm.
people would just reject that. But I don't know. I think that song exists to do that for us because in like I say in the movie and what I understand in the show, he's just straight killing people. They're bad people, but he's killing them just the same.
hmm
Hmm. I mean, he's an accomplice, absolutely. Um, and the thing is that like he just doesn't. I mean, like it's kind of just given off, not like from Rick Moranis in himself as this character, but also Seymour as a whole. He just he's in a sense a coward, and he has his like moment at the very end. But again, that's another instance where the musical is different from the movie and but I mean, it's interesting because I didn't know because I haven't seen the original film that he's just straight up killing people, but I think it's supposed to be that Seymour is just kind of he wants attention, he wants
Yeah.
love. Like the musical kind of builds up into that a little bit more, and he just wants to make people happy. And it originally starts that he wants to make Audrey happy, and he was trying to make Mr. Mushnick happy, and now he's like, if I go away, and I mean, I guess it's up to interpretation. Did Seymour do this because he doesn't want to give up all the good that he's had? Is it because he feels like Audrey 2 is kind of like his kid and he feels responsible? Like it comes down to would you kill somebody to keep this happiness or are you going to actually own up to what you're involved in?
I feel that's like the genius of Audrey too, right? Because it starts out as this little tiny cute thing, and it's like, well, cute in quotation marks. Your mileage may
yeah.
vary. It starts with this little helpless thing, and it's the first thing we see it do is make like kissy faces at him because it wants to drink the blood out of his cut finger. So I feel like it plays that cute game until it has more ability to
Mhm.
talk, and that's when it starts preying on like Seymour's desire to improve his life or his desire to date Audrey or whatever. So it finds like it's like I'm cute and pathetic, and then it was time to I know what you secretly want, you creep. And
Yeah,
then at
that's
the end of the and then at the end of the movie, it's just going full. I'll just kill all you idiots because you can't stop me. And that's why we get Mean Green Mother, which is great because it's like Audrey 2's finally like, I don't have to be nice to this idiot. I don't have to pretend I'm a cute little plant. I can just
Mhm.
be the killing machine that I am.
It's like a Pokemon that went wrong.
Exactly. Like if Pikachu clawed that kid's eyes out.
Oh God. Well, actually, if you read most Pokedexes, most of these Pokemon do horrible things to people anyway. So,
Do you think that this alien species has been studying the Earth? Like how it knew that people are biologically wired to like tiny, cute things?
I mean, that's very possible. The only thing is that at the end of the movie, it's like the minute Seymour sees that thing, he's gonna try to like weed kill it.
Yeah,
Well,
but it's not a tiny, cute thing anymore.
I
No, no, no. At the very end of the movie,
Oh,
remember?
yeah, with
Because
the
there's
other
the
little ones.
little.
Yeah,
He's gonna
yeah,
take freaking weed killer to that thing every
yeah.
single day until it shrivels up and dies.
I have a sinister interpretation of it, if you'll allow me.
Hmm.
Please.
The alien is kind of like the alien in the thing, in that it's just there to survive and it's going to adapt off of what its environment is and stuff.
Hmm.
And this is any version of the thing, by the way, even back to the carrot one and from the 50s. But it's a representative of Seymour's id and kind of uncompletely formed sort of personal sexual identity. And as it grows, it gets hungrier and nastier because he doesn't know how to
and
control it when
and
you're a teenager and a kid, and then it becomes uncontrollable. So,
and it starts speaking English and developing human mannerisms because it has consumed so many people. And with each person it consumes, it becomes more and more like the monster that is humanity.
because in the movie, one of the wild things, it's almost like it's actually a really good horror moment if they had played it for that. When it sprouts a new bud and it opens up the petal of it, the
Uh-huh.
face of it
Mhm.
is the face of the person that it killed. Uh,
Uh,
which is kind
Oh,
of like if you wanted to remake this now and do like a
Yeah.
scary version of it, that'd be how you
yeah.
would do it.
so
That is
Um,
a movie I would watch for sure.
yeah.
and
So
that's actually how it's played for in most versions in the musical.
see, yeah.
Is
So
yeah.
yeah, that's just, I was watching it this time and I just was like, oh, this is, I don't know why I decided to get deep, man, but I just decided to like go there with that. And I thought, this is just his like, repressed, identity that he can't have any confidence on. But now that it's out, it's uncontrollable. Like if
Yeah.
you could unhook your super self-confidence and personal growth and puberty from yourself, which is hard to think about because Rick Moranis is 30, doing this or whatever. Or, but if you can, what would happen when that thing started to feed and grow on its own? Oh, it would be out of control. Like it's because
Yeah.
it doesn't have any self-control, and that's the thing is like, it may be a thousands of year old space alien, but I think to Ron's point, it's eating all these like really bad people from a bad part of New York. So now it's got this
Mhm.
really bad New York attitude thing going on. It's a Jets fan. That's what I'm trying to say.
Hey, I take that personally. Thank you very much.
I had to get one in. I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
So,
I'm proud. Thank you. I mean, everyone. You're next.
but no,
Um,
but yeah, but I think in the adaptation though, to go back to your question, is does it work? Yes, it completely works because you have to soften Seymour. We have to be on his side
mhm,
for more than he's just fun, cute Rick Moranis. His story has to be fun because Rick Moranis plays pathetic characters. That's kind of his like actor's secret. Except when he's playing the dick record producer one time, he's always playing this sort of run upon, put upon person, and you feel bad for him, but also because he's just sprinkled in enough. Like his character in Ghostbusters, it's just him doing these run-on sentences that apparently he just came up with on the spot or throughout the
I could believe
process.
that.
Like it wasn't
No,
really
I
written
could
Yeah.
that way,
100%
but
believe that.
Aykroyd knew him and said and Ramis knew him and said just do your thing, and so he just did that. But that works as a character because he's only in like two or three scenes, right? If that was a whole
Hmm.
friggin' movie, you'd hate him. And that's the
Yeah.
same with Seymour. If he was this run over guy the whole time, you can't respect somebody like that. But you see him
Hmm.
grow when he gets a little confidence, and now we want to get on his side, and we feel bad that he has to kill people. So who does he get to kill? He gets to kill the woman abusing dentist who thinks he's Elvis.
Hmm.
He gets to kill Mushnick because he's using him anyway, right? Like he kills
Hmm.
people that
Mhm.
you want dead.
I
Yeah.
like that they covered all their bases with that though. Like how can we make sure everybody really hates this guy? Well, he beats women. Okay, but like what if that's not enough? Like what
Yeah.
else can we give him? Well, he's douchey wannabe Elvis
Yeah.
that rides a motorcycle but like isn't real.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, but we need one other. We've got two
It's
thirds.
not skanky enough.
It's
He
just
his
not.
he
Let's
literally
make
his
him a dentist. Oh,
Yes.
there
Mm.
we go.
I was
That's
gonna
it.
say his
That's the
opening
one.
lines about shooting puppies with a BB gun and bashing cats' heads in.
Right.
Oh
He's
no.
just, I mean, he is the most contemptible dirtbag you can
And
Yeah.
it,
dream up to have.
And
And then you
he's a
get Steve
dentist.
Martin with that million watts of energy
yeah.
to pull that off. Yeah.
And they build it up perfectly because at the very first time you see Audrey, she's got a black eye and then she's got a broken arm. And there's a scene where she's talking to the three ladies and they're like, "Why don't you find someone nicer?" And she's like, "I don't deserve somebody like this." And
Mm.
it's fine. He just handcuffs me a little. And so it's like you're literally like building this guy up And then you
Yeah.
see him and you're like, oh, you are just the skeeziest looking mofo I have ever seen in
I
my
mean,
life.
let's be real. If Christian Grey was just like a,
Yes.
run of the mill executive, he'd be a fucking
Do you
monster.
know
He's a
how hard
billionaire, so he
do
gets
you know
away.
do you know how hard it was to not make a 50 Shades of Grey like reference when I was talking about the
It's
BDSM
right
regulations
there.
and protocol? I almost said something about safe words. And can I just say, this is not a part of the musical at all, but Bill Murray being the client that is just there, being like, yes, and,
Yeah.
or Steve Martin was the best thing ever because he's a freak. And we're like, what does that make you?
Right? Yeah, no, that was a great cameo. The cameos in this movie are
Yeah.
incredible. Like John Candy as a wacky FM DJ. Oh hell yeah. Like, he was
Mhm.
born for that. If he wasn't an actor, that's what he'd be doing.
And
I
I
love Bill Murray's part in this is so, so funny. The part where he was in the Duchess chair was not scripted.
Hmm.
That was all Bill Murray's brilliance. And he loves this film, the show. He actually references it at the end of Scrooged. And
really,
he's giving his final speech in front of the camera on TV for everyone on Christmas. And he goes, "You got to be hungry. You got to want more. Feed me, Seymour."
I think making these really funny, noticeable actors come in for these little moments was such a clever idea because they're there just long enough, but you're still focusing on the major characters that are there.
Mhm.
And that also kind of it also kind of like aligns with the musical too, because for the most part, this musical does not have a big ensemble. It's just like a couple of people that pop in here and there. And I like that they took the time to make these few people that pop in here and there these hilarious people that you will never forget. Because interestingly enough, like the a lot of the like the telemarketer, especially in what is classified as Act Two, is all done by the actor who plays Orin Scrivello because he's dead after Act One. So they just have him come in as all these little characters. And it's always hilarious because it's the same actor, like playing two different guys and a woman and everything like that. And I like that they actually took the time to bring in, like I said, these very well-known like SNL people just to have their little bit and be like, oh, hey, I know that person. And that might also have been a really good idea for advertisements as well. Although, granted, Audrey 2 in itself was its own advertisement.
Yeah. Yeah, cuz they had the Audrey 2 do interviews
It's a great
Which
for
idea.
marketing.
kudos,
Yeah, in
kudos,
character interviews.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
kudos to the people who handled the puppetry on
oh,
Audrey 2. Absolute masterwork.
the lip sync of that
Mhm.
Hmm.
puppet to Levi Stubbs' performance is incredible.
It's so
So,
Hmm.
good.
like, they had to have recorded him
Yeah.
first and doing it playback,
Hmm.
because there's no way. I mean, he may be that good. I don't know, but he's a musician. He's not an actor
Hmm.
necessarily, right? So I feel like they got him in the booth, got all that stuff, and then they synced it. But that is an incredible puppetry work. Like nowadays, that would look like the CGI that would look so
Yeah.
awful, and
I
it looks so good.
They did such a great job because on top of like just like mouthing exactly what he's saying, they gave Audrey 2 such personality.
Mhm.
Even when it's not speaking, you can just tell when it's like, are you for real right now? Are we gonna have this conversation again?
Mhm.
Feed me. You know, just the absolute just annoyed that they can't move. Like you can just feel this energy as it gets and also as it gets bigger, can you imagine what trying to make that mouth move
Mhm.
with? That's not one person probably doing that. That's multiple people.
I mean,
Mhm.
they filmed the plant slower,
Mm-hmm.
in scenes, and then you had like everybody, usually Rick Moranis, this is a testament to him too. He had to like work around that and then
Mm-hmm.
do his performance when he was on and then do the slow one when he's trying to interact with that. That's skill, man. Like I'm not an actor, but God, I can't imagine like Lindsay, I need you to move at 12 frames slower than normal. You know, like,
When we did our recent show of Little Shop of Horrors, I was not in it, but I was there for the auditions, and they literally had specifically an audition for the puppetry work for
oh
Audrey 2.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one of my
Nice.
friends,
Mm.
very talented dancer, hope she hears this, but like they even had her legs in the roots. So in the
Mhm.
second stage of Audrey's growth, like the roots, she would move the roots around and everything. It's just her little legs like kicking and stuff.
Yeah. The, all the little stuff that Audrey
Yeah.
too does is
hmm
what's cool. It's not just the mouth, which is awesome,
hmm
but it's
Hmm.
again, it's all the little hands and the
They've got
feet.
like it's almost like a little tail, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like tapping him on the
Just
shoulder and
And
yeah,
when
stuff
just
it's
like
like
doing the
that.
beating the
Yeah.
shit out of
song, the
him.
little
Yeah.
bulbs are like the backup
Yeah.
singers.
Little
Like
Muppet.
that's yeah. I mean, it does look like this big ass evil Muppet, which
I
it
Kind
didn't
of
is.
really
is.
It is.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it until they started bringing in the little spawn, the little hell spawns, as I call them. Just
Yeah.
being like in the background, just be like, mean green bad.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolute amazing work.
that's the thing is like for and I think when y'all mentioned this like musicals tend to be like these big things, right? And you try to
hmm
make them bigger from the stage to the screen because now you've got all this room to do all this stuff. Like I think about like, and I'm going way back, but like the Pajama Game, which is a personal fave like musical of mine. I think it's silly and
hmm
fun, it's cute, but like they use that whole warehouse and factory setting for everything it's worth in that
hmm
movie. And they're singing outside, inside, the whole nine, right?
Hmm.
Whereas this one, like they keep it kind of shrunk, because
hmm
as the stage it shrunk, right? So I mean, you get some outside vista stuff that we've talked about. That may or may not have been leftovers from Streets of Fire, but were definitely leftovers from a Bond movie that we've all forgotten. But like the fact that it's mostly Rick Moranis and that puppet in the flower shop almost the whole time is
Yeah.
is
hmm
amazing, and it doesn't feel boring and also doesn't feel claustrophobic. Like that's
hmm
not easily done. That's
No.
Frank
No.
Oz knowing how to shoot film and bring you into a world but not make you feel trapped by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something like I kind of brought up like the fact and it you like you said it could have gotten extremely claustrophobic, but they worked with it really well and they broke it up also really well so like it because there would be like outside of the floral shop, but it's still like within that same block. So the farthest we ever really got was like the radio advertisement and the dental shop. And it wasn't until, and this is only if you saw the uh the original recording of Don't Feed the Plants, which is available nowadays on special feature, the original ending to Little Shop of Horrors, that whole scene is treated kind of like Godzilla rampaging through the city
Hmm.
sort of style.
Yeah.
Um, and you could also just tell that they had, if you've watched it, they just had a blast and they also didn't care because I think at one point, like Audrey 2 is like uh taking a hit on a giant bong at one point. Which Jay, you were saying like, wouldn't it be crazy if like the plants like had the faces and stuff? In the
Hmm.
Broadway version, um, Audrey and Seymour don't survive.
Yeah.
They die.
Yeah. Because
Audrey,
because he goes down like Ahab with it, right?
yes,
Hmm.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, I'm gonna kill you from the inside,
That's the movie too. I
and
mean,
jumps.
that's yeah.
Yeah, and but he jumps in the
Right.
musical. He just takes a machete that he randomly has and just jumps in. And spoiler alert, it didn't work out well. And
I could buy a
then
gardener having a machete. That makes sense. Yeah, it's
no, no,
a
no, it's
floral
not that. It's
person.
that I'm gonna kill you from the inside. It's
Side.
like, okay, this is again horror movie logic. I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't come out. And the I think it's the Jim Belushi character comes in, no consent, and just has his people start taking clippings of Audrey too.
Hmm.
And then it just starts going crazy. And the song Don't Feed the Plants, usually the interpretation is that the actors will come back out, but they're dressed as Audrey 2's.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
cute.
their face, but they're wearing like some like idea of like being an Audrey 2. singing "Don't Feed the Plants." So when you said
That's
that, I was like, they technically went that way, not always done in the most horrific manner that they possibly could.
yeah. That's interesting. I'd like that on the show because the movie ends with him jumping in to kill the plant and he doesn't succeed. And like the last bloom is his face opening, going like, whoops, my bad, or whatever,
Yeah.
which is sort of funny. So it's very, like I said, it's very Jerry Lewis, but
Which
um,
I actually have this question. If they ever made a remake, would you one, go see it? And two, would you be okay with them doing the original endings and keeping it as true to the musical as it was? Or do you like this movie the way that it is, in a sense?
I mean, even though it's a comedy, horror, comedy, whatever, musical and stuff like that. Like if you wanted to take it and make it a little, if you wanted to go back to like the roots and not do the musical, you just wanted to do the movie again.
Take back the roots.
I didn't think about that. But if you wanted to go back to the origin and do it, I still think, and Ron brought this point up, you still have to keep the lighthearted goofiness of it involved. Like
Yeah.
in the end, it's like Gremlins. Like if you try to take that seriously at all, you start to realize how ridiculous it is. You're like, there's no way that they took down the whole bar, with that little 2 foot, thing. But
Have you seen
you
Chucky?
you go with it, right? Well, that's a serial killer in a body on another podcast for another day. But I can see that working, but I think you have to keep the lightheartedness, and it's what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And would I go see it? Yeah, I'd be intrigued by what they did with it. What's
Yeah.
different is what I'd want
Mm-hmm.
to know.
I would be concerned about like an attempt to CGI it. I think
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's the
needs,
problem.
I think it needs puppet work.
I
I
agree.
Yeah, it
do.
had to be practical. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it 100% needs to be a puppet, otherwise it doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
right.
I
You
think
know
you're
what it
Right.
would look like if it wasn't? It would look like the damn Sarlacc monster that they replaced in Return of the Jedi.
Oh,
That
yeah.
awful looking
Mhm.
thing. I don't care how many times they've
It's
redone it. It looks like shit every time. So
it's what's funny, Jay? I was thinking it would look like that the animated mouth they added on the singer to the Jabba's pleasure barge
yep,
thing where,
yep,
Oh,
in Jabba's
God.
palace where things like rah, rah, rah. It's a
yes,
weird mouth.
with that
That's
new
what Audrey
song
2 would look like with the big lips and
Henry
everything.
Henry
yeah,
Cavill with his CGI non-mustache
mustache.
during
Yeah, no,
his
that's
sleep.
no, that yeah, I don't. We just mentioned three horrific instances of CGI.
Everybody that's listening to this had like an eye twitch at least once.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got everybody.
So we
Yeah,
got
yeah,
Yeah.
we covered everybody with that one. No, I'm with you, Lens and Ron. It's got to be practical.
Yeah.
And you can do that. Practical effects are making a comeback. So
I mean, what's wrong with like sticking to the like original style? Like
Mhm.
I understand that there's a beauty to CGI, but let's not forget about the crafts that came before it, before we had that opportunity. And puppetry is one of them. If they're still doing Avenue Q with puppets, why I'm certain that there would be a lot of people if they did a remake and they did CGI, there would be a lot of people that would like be in uproar
Are they
about
making a
it.
movie of Avenue Q?
No, I
Yeah.
just meant
Oh,
in
that's what I'm saying.
general.
Like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
I was just sitting here going like, God, I
God, I
don't think
hope.
that like I didn't think Rent worked. I can't imagine that working either. So as a
Look,
movie. So,
I have a cast of Avenue Q people in mind, but again, it all depends. But that also, they have an audition for when they do it with puppets. Like that's the
Mhm.
whole part of it. So,
I feel like you just came up with a topic for a future sessions, by the way, like fantasy cast, something that hasn't been done yet.
Yeah.
Lindsay,
Mm.
Lindsay, Captain Planet,
Yeah,
it's coming back.
we've already got that one.
We-
I still have those outtakes in the archive,
Oh,
so
thank God.
they do exist.
Oh.
Not
I
for
might need
public
to. I
consumption, but
might.
they do
I might.
exist.
We might need to update. I might have some changes to certain people, but Chris
I'll
Evans,
have to. I'll
Captain
go back.
Planet, still stays. That
Well, I mean, look, like this movie is about strange and interesting things, and that's
strange
this
and
entire
interesting plan.
that's this
Strange and
podcast
interesting
ethos.
plan.
It's strange and interesting. So,
It is. I mean, it is a strange and interesting musical. I mean,
mhm.
it is. You're starting to see horror movies in musicals now because you have Evil Dead the musical. You have now Teeth the musical, and now they're doing
How?
yes, they did. They did
How?
actually. You can listen to the
Yeah.
soundtrack. It
I don't
exists.
know that I want to.
It popped up on
Do
my
they
YouTube
just?
advertisements. It said Teeth the musical, and the way I was like doing dishes, and the way I slowly turned towards my phone, going, "Do you mean the actual?" And I saw the poster and went, "You do,
The
you
Jess
do mean, you
Wexler
do mean that? Yeah, you do mean Teeth
Dentata
the
movie.
musical? Yeah, yeah, yeah." And now you have like,
Wow. Do they just?
don't go watch it
I
yourself.
no,
Go listen to
some things
yourself.
are best left not known.
Go
It's
listen.
true.
Go listen. Go listen. I'm
Okay.
just
Okay. Okay.
saying.
Okay.
But
Can't.
I mean,
Now I've sat in the splash zone for Evil Dead the musical. I don't want to
uh-huh.
sit in the splash zone
So
for
for
teeth
teeth. Hell no.
because I know what I'm going to be hit with, and I don't really
Well,
need that in my life.
that's justified. I mean, you could sit in the splash zone for Sweeney Todd, which apparently I found out
I
my
did,
mother
I
did
did
with
that.
I
I
Hello,
bet
did
Lake
that
not.
too.
Cherry.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all can listen to me on Amateur Auteurs talking about Sweeney Todd because no love for
The
the Todd of
the
Sweeney
movie,
from me.
the
No,
musical or the
I've never
movie?
never seen the musical. Don't know why I would because I hated the movie so much. So really hated that movie. So
I have an
um,
interesting story I'll tell you about the movie later, Jay. Like, let's just say I went back twice to see this film, and then
I'm
I went,
impressed. If you, hey, it's okay for you to love stuff. I hope everybody does. It was not me, and I'm like,
I
nope.
sorry,
So
let me rephrase this just a small bit. I'll make it as quick as I can. Literally went to go see it. The film opening night, the film didn't make it to our theater, so they refunded us. And I was with a mutual friend of Lindsay and mine, and another friend, because we were Tim Burton fans. Like that was our thing to do. And it was our
wow.
first of all, we had not seen Sleepy Hollow yet, which probably in prerequisite is a much better movie, but much better movie. And then we went back and watched it, and I went, I didn't pay twice to see this, but I did come to the theater twice to see it.
Mhm.
So
Well,
there's
I'm
that.
glad you only paid once for it. So
I would have asked for my money back, probably. I don't
true.
love Alan Rickman. That's all I'll say about that film.
It's not his finest moment. So
No, no. Galaxy Quest was his finest moment.
I'm, no shade to
Harry,
Dogma, but here we go. So
I forgot about Dogma. No, you're right. Dogma.
kind of
Have
rules
we
in
done that
Dogma.
movie? Can we
No, we
do
haven't
that
done any Kevin
movie?
Smith movies. Yeah.
Can we do
Yeah.
that movie, please?
Well, okay. Why not? So, yeah.
I'll have to find
If
it
we can do,
legally somewhere, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, it is. It
I
is. It is like True Lies. It's hard to find.
I own the DVD. You know what? We could do a live stream. We could do a live stream. I have both those DVDs.
That would definitely save that for the Patreon. I would say.
There
So
you
Yeah.
go.
you can do a live stream.
Oh my God.
Harvey Weinstein might be in jail, but he still has lots of lawyers.
Yes.
In fact, he probably has more
That,
lawyers now than he did when he wasn't in jail.
the one day I still have dreams of Ron and I just live streaming watching New Year's Evil. Apart but together as we do every
Let's
year.
do it, man. Let's do it.
We'll have to get around to that.
That would be fun. Just doing like a live stream, like
We'll have to
sort of
do a
special
YouTube
event.
live or some bullshit.
Mostly just to get the two of you to watch it as well and become part
Oh,
of the
New
family.
Yeah.
Year's New Year's Evil.
Yes, become part of the family. Join the
Part of the New
revolution.
Year's Evil family.
Can we
I'm
get like
down.
a cool patch or something like that, or a sticker for our laptops?
I, I don't know. Ron's in charge of the marketing.
You can
I
get
can make that happen.
you can get a sticker that
Lindsay.
says Blaze on it.
Yes.
Actually, Lindsay and I both have crickets now. We might actually be able to make this happen.
I can make that
I-
happen.
So I know what you mean by that, but immediately I thought, what the hell does your backyard have to do with this?
You don't know. Don't worry about it.
No, I know now. It came up. So Road Dog, I called somebody and I got it.
Question is, which backyard are you referring to, Lindsay or mine?
I actually like the nihilistic ending where the plants take over the world and stuff, but I get why you would change it because I like those kind of dark endings. But that's just me.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
it's different, alternate
mhm.
universe. Look, I think Audrey 2 is eventually going to take over anyway. It's still alive at the end, but at least they get their house with the real chain link,
Mhm.
She looks like Donna
It's
Reed
sweet.
too.
Yeah,
I
And
feel
it's the
like
Betty
maybe
AstroTurf
you could very easily pitch that the ending of this movie is their final. It's like Rick Moranis' final dreams as he's being slowly dissolved in the stomach of Audrey too.
Oh,
Oh,
I
that's
could
a good
like it.
be.
take.
Could
Yeah.
And
be.
then the kid from St. Elsewhere is looking into it like a snow globe.
Oh my
But inside the
Tommy
God.
snow globe,
Westfall.
but Tommy Westfall's looking at a little tiny Audrey too.
No, that's a good like that's a good interpretation of it. But
And just as his
yeah.
dad flips his keys over and it reveals that it's Eddie lives from Eddie and the Cruisers.
Oh my God. I do agree with both Ron and Lindsay. They're both
Yeah.
interesting takes. Like Lindsay makes a good point. It's like if you're gonna change that part, especially with Mr. Mushnick, it makes sense that Seymour would be the hero because I mean that's the kind of thing he's doing in the musical. He's gonna be the hero, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. To be
Yeah.
fair, he doesn't really know what the hell he's doing in Mean Green Mother either. He just goes, I'm gonna grab this cord. Honestly, it would have been more hilarious if we wanted to keep with the Seymour just kind of is there when the person dies, if Audrey too just hits the electrical box and electrocutes itself.
Oh, that would have been smart. I would have been on board with that. Like
He would have been like,
it
I'm the
continues
hero.
his
Yeah,
yeah, it continues his trend of like failing to succeed.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Oh,
honestly, I thought that
Yeah, that'd be
I
good.
remembered it that way. And then I went back and watched it and went, never mind. Actually, he did kind of grow a backbone at this point.
I,
And
I I'll counter only with I think at that point you'd already seen Seymour stand up to him and go like your plans like yours never work. Like he had become strong and he needed to have the moment of taking the creature out of himself. Because if the creature took itself out, then it's like, oh, he just bumbled into another opportunity. But he
mhm.
he had action to do it. I think makes it more real.
Yeah.
I, it is also a good point that we see the other little Audrey too at the very end of this movie. So there
Hmm.
is potentially that implication that, okay, maybe Seymour has nothing to do with it, but the plan is still the plan, so to speak, to
Right.
take
Well, like who's to
over.
say that's the only one of those that came to Earth during that time?
Yeah, it's
That's
like there's like 10 that showed
Yeah.
up and only one of them might successfully make it work and the
right.
rest are
Like the kids survived Night of the Comet, but
yeah,
there's a whole other world out there that we have to deal
right?
with at the end of
And
that.
does it happen every time there's a total eclipse?
Right.
Can it be a lunar eclipse? Because we
Is it?
just
Yeah.
recently
I don't
had
know.
one.
What
I
are
should
the
probably
rules?
Lindsay, we should go check our gardens just to be
What?
safe.
What are the rules?
Right.
Yeah. Total world domination. Because no one saw that coming.
Nope.
Seymour is so sweet, but he literally does scream the absolute oblivious protagonist that just does not. But that also kind of like encapsulates him and Audrey because the only one who thinks something weird is going on is technically Mr. Mushnick. And they kill him in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. I wonder who Mr. Mushnick would have fed to Audrey to
Seymour.
if
Hmm.
Seymour took him up on it.
Everyone.
He would have pushed Seymour in there. Absolutely. Because he knew because like I don't even think Orin Scrivello would have been his first thought. I think he would have picked Seymour at least second or third. And the reason I say that is that he knew that Audrey was being abused and he did nothing about it other than be like, "Oh, that poor girl." And then walks out the door.
Yeah. She just
So
don't have much sense.
sweet girl. She worked in the gutter. Leave her alone. What was the difference between, in a sense, like you could look at it from two different perspectives. Mr. Mushnick also would have been somebody who would have easily been swayed by Audrey too, at least the
Hmm.
way that they kind of portrayed him. And my only thought is that they went after Seymour because I don't think Mr. Mushnick knows anything about plants and doesn't go plant shopping at all. So it made sense that Seymour was the one that would see the plant first,
Yeah, and he was just out doing the shopping for his
as you
own
do.
little hobby.
As
Yeah.
somebody who has, Lindsay will attest, 20 million plants, You just go plant shopping before you go grocery shopping because I totally did that this weekend.
Yeah, like if they needed someone, if like this was ever real life, I don't think Audrey 2 would choose me because it would definitely die as a
Yes.
plant in my
Yeah.
care. It would 100% die.
I know.
I would be like
Right?
a serial killer of Audrey 2's
Yes.
because people would
Yeah.
just be
They'd call
giving
you
it to me.
they'd call you the Root Slayer, Ron. The
Yeah.
Root Slayer.
The Black Thumb.
No, no, you're the Root Slayer as the president of the Society of the Black Thumb.
There you
Oh,
go.
nice.
Oh, I like
Because now it's
it.
a ninja thing.
And then
So
Lindsay would be what, the
Nice.
overwaterer?
Or the one who
Yes.
doesn't change the soil.
Both of those are true.
the soil taker.
The
Yeah.
soil. I don't know. I was gonna say also the
Yeah.
soil slayer. That doesn't work. The soil
The,
slasher.
yeah, the nitrogen nightmare.
The
Yes.
Yes.
nitrogen nightmares.
Nitro Mare.
Nitro. Oh, I like
Ooh, okay, yeah,
Nice.
it. The
that's it.
nitro
That
mare.
wins. That wins. We workshop that all
100%.
the way out.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
Thanks for
also
going on
going
this journey, guys.
I am also going to advocate that we all need hoodies at the end of this with a bunch of like nicknames and like funny things that we have said. Nitro Man
Yeah, how we've never had gear all
and
these years,
Ruth.
I don't know.
I know.
Well, now is the time for us to give our final thoughts on this movie and our popcorn ratings. Ron, let's start off with you.
So I came into this having inexplicable fondness for the whole scenario, right? For whatever reason, I've just always been like had a soft spot for this movie. It's never been one I've watched a ton, but the times I've watched it, I've always enjoyed it. And this time was no different. It's funnier than I remembered it being. Rick Moranis is really good as this kind of like put upon like little Weasley guy, but still with enough like gumption to kill people in order to feed his plant, or to at least make the attempt to kill people to feed his plant. Um, I can't say enough good about Levi Stubbs. He's amazing. He literally lifts this whole movie up on his back and carries it. Um, Audrey, the actress playing Audrey, is excellent, and I really enjoy the one scene where she's doing the fantasy song and dance, and she loses her Brooklyn honk accent and starts singing in what is her normal voice, I assume, or at least is a more normal voice, um, without the extra emphasis of Betty Boop. Um, yeah, just top to bottom, a lot of fun, breezy watch. The songs are great, um, and the puppet work, the puppetry is spectacular. So I'm going to go with a large popcorn with a little tiny Audrey two head poking out of it. Like it's a large popcorn, but it's in an
Adorable.
Audrey 2 popcorn bucket, and you have to stick your hand in the mouth to get the popcorn, and sometimes the mouth closes and bites you.
That is
Love that.
so
That's a great
specific.
I love
advertising
it.
idea.
Yeah.
This is why Ron's in charge of advertising. Jay, what about you?
I had a lot of fun revisiting this. I mean, to echo everything Ron said, it's a blast and it goes down really easy too. It's not asking a whole lot. You know, you can put a lot of thought into it if you want to, but you could just sort of just watch it too, and it's fun. And it's everything about that screams like solid medium popcorn, but the puppetry work in it gives it just enough over the edge for me to give it large because that is artistry into itself and just the whole like the sound editing, all that stuff, putting that together. And I'm okay that this movie lost visual effects to Aliens because that movie friggin' rules. I'm not okay that the song that ruined a great new wave band from Tom Gunn beat it for best song. I'll never be okay with that. So once again, the Oscars got that all wrong, but this movie gets it right. So large popcorn.
Lindsay.
I am going to echo Ron and Jay with the large popcorn. When I was rewatching it for this show, seriously, I don't even think I was a quarter of the way through it, and I said to myself, "Oh, large popcorn for sure." There's absolutely no question. I love the character work in it is brilliant. The cameos are so fun. I love Bill Murray's cameo. I would watch that just that scene over and over again. It's so good. And as Jay already said, and probably Ron too, the puppetry and the practical effects in it are just amazing and beautiful and wonderful and so fun. And if this movie ever did get remade, then that would absolutely have to be a part of it. CGI cannot, there's no way. I will not ever believe that CGI has the same effect. So, large popcorn for me. Highly recommend. Go watch it if you haven't seen it yet. And go see the play too, because the play also really fun. But we're not reviewing a live show. We're reviewing this movie. But definitely watch the movie.
Yeah, I have to unanimously agree with everyone. Large popcorn. This film is just it's a beautiful adaptation of the musical. It has its own interpretation of it, but I don't think that it takes away from the overall story. They're both great like interpretations of the original work. I love Rick Moranis. I love Ellen Green. She actually was one of the original actresses that made me want to start singing. I loved her little Brooklyn accent before she started going into her deeper, I believe she's technically considered an alto tone. I think that the characters are beautifully fleshed out. You love who you love who you hate to love. I think this is a movie that I can always go back to, and I still hum it all the time. I still hum Mean Green Mother while I'm watering all my 20 billion plants. So large popcorn from everybody, it sounds like, which is awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. You can find and follow us on social media at Filmstrip Pod, where we share announcements about upcoming shows as well as other fun content. And don't forget to subscribe and share the show. Bonus points if you leave us a positive review, as it helps other people find our podcast. And it makes us feel really good about ourselves. Until next time, thanks for listening to Filmstrip.
Thank you for listening to Filmstrip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Filmstrip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.